Imagine a world overrun by monstrous creatures, where survival is a brutal fight and betrayal lurks in the shadows. In this hellish landscape, a former soldier and a fearless warrior embark on a deadly mission, not just to stay alive, but to uncover a terrifying secret hidden deep within a cursed valley. But when their mission turns into a ruthless chase, with every move meaning life or death, will they escape their fate? Or will they be swallowed by the darkness like those before them? Buckle up, because what you're about to witness is a thrilling recap of a film packed with action, suspense, and jaw-dropping twists. The film begins with a sniper named Drasa, who wakes up in the hideout where she lives in the mountains. When the plane arrives at the airport, Drasa takes out her weapon and waits for the target to disembark before eliminating him. She then collects the spent shell casing. Elsewhere, a man named Levi wakes up startled from a nightmare. He drives his car at night to escape the lingering thoughts of his dream. Sitting by the sea for hours, he feels sadness and loneliness as he watches a family strolling with their dog. Later, he receives a message from an unknown sender instructing him to report to a military camp for a specific mission. He gets in his car and heads to the naval base, where he meets an agent named Barda. We learn that Levi was once a soldier, coming from a family with a long history of military service. He was a highly skilled sniper who successfully completed 113 missions. After leaving the army, he became a contract assassin, but currently, he refuses to take on jobs for any organization. A psychologist had told him that he was no longer fit for such tasks. Levi has no lover, no friends, and no one he cares about. He also avoids any substances like drugs or alcohol, as they would affect his precision in executing missions. When Barda asks why he hasn't sought help from another psychologist, he replies that it's pointless. He simply doesn't care about anything anymore. Meanwhile, Drasa is in Lithuania, where she visits a cemetery to meet her father and sit with him by her mother's grave, as it is the anniversary of her passing. Drasa and her father always meet at the grave, where he tells her, "I heard you took a job and killed someone named Oligarchy. Is that true?" She replies, "Yes, it was a difficult mission for me because the man I killed had 4 children." Her father responds, "Oligarchy was an arms dealer, and many children lost their lives because of him. He deserved to die." Drasa hands her father the spent shell casing from the bullet she used to kill Oligarchy, but regretfully informs him that she has accepted a new mission. She must leave the next day and might be away for an entire year. Her father, who is sick and in great pain, is saddened by this and has already decided to end his suffering by taking his own life on Valentine's Day. He asks her to light a candle for him on that day. Drasa tries to talk him out of it, but he refuses, saying, "This is my life, and I am free to do with it as I please." Meanwhile, Levi is on a plane heading to his mission after accepting Barda's offer. The area he is traveling to is inaccessible by aircraft, so he must parachute in and walk 38 kilometers to his destination. He gathers his gear, jumps from the plane, and lands in the forest. After a long trek through the mountains, he arrives at his destination, where he meets a soldier named Jasper. Jasper was assigned to be replaced and is overjoyed to finally see another human being after spending an entire year alone. Levi tells Jasper, "I don't know the details of my mission or even what country I'm in." Jasper replies, "Neither do I." He then leads Levi to the Western Tower, where he will be stationed for the next year, and begins explaining everything to him. You are now in a place called the Valley. Over there is the Northern Tower. Communication with the person in that tower is strictly forbidden, and reaching them is impossible anyway because the area is filled with landmines and traps. Everyone here has their own job and does not interfere with others. Your duty is to patrol your assigned area. Ensure that the artillery in the valley is stocked with ammunition. Check the iron fence and landmines, and monitor the storage depot outside the camp, which holds extra weapons, ammunition, and mines. You must also check your radio every 30 days. Around the forest, there are signal jammers that prevent satellites from detecting this location on any map. There is no means of communication with the outside world. In case of an emergency, there is a button you must press, which will send a signal to the authorities. If any of the equipment malfunctions or the valley is invaded, an automatic protocol called Stray Dog will be activated. Jasper didn't know exactly what this protocol entailed, but he told Levi, If you ever hear the alarm, run immediately. Jasper then added, "This valley is ancient and highly classified, dating back to World War II. Every year, someone from the Western nations is brought in to guard the Western Tower, while another person from the Northern regions is assigned to the Northern Tower. This has been going on for 75 years. 13 presidents have ruled America in that time, and none of them ever knew about this valley or what happens here." Levi was puzzled by all of this and asked, "What exactly is my mission here?" Jasper replied, "Your job is to keep those inside the valley from getting out." Levi didn't understand and asked for clarification. Jasper explained, "A year ago, the person before me told me the same thing, and I didn't understand it first either." Jasper then threw a smoke grenade into the pit below them. Suddenly, monstrous sounds echoed from within the valley. Jasper said, "There was a guy before me named Shu. He was the one who called them the men of the hollow earth. No one really knows what they are. In the 1940s, 2,400 people were sent into the valley, but none of them ever came back. They all died. I believe this valley is some kind of gateway to hell, and we are its guardians." The next day, Jasper bid Levi farewell and headed to the extraction point for his helicopter. The aircraft arrived, and a rope was lowered for Jasper to climb up. But just as he reached the helicopter, the sniper aboard shot him, sending his body plummeting into the valley, swallowed by the darkness. At that moment, Levi realized that he had taken Jasper's place, and that every guard was executed at the end of their term to ensure there were no witnesses. A month passed, and Levi carried out his duties efficiently, patrolling the area and checking the radio to confirm that everything was in order. In his free time, he read books that had been left behind, and he noticed writings on the walls, messages left by previous guards. One of them had written, "Life here is unbearable." One day, Levi ventured into the forest to gather fruit. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a saw coming from the northern side. Looking through his scope, he saw a woman cutting wood, Drasa, the guardian of the northern tower. She seemed to want to communicate with him. That night, Levi woke up from a nightmare. He instinctively grabbed his weapon, but he accidentally shattered a glass bottle, cutting his foot in the process. After treating his wound, he looked through his scope at Drasa, who was also struggling with insomnia. When she noticed him watching, she blew out her candle and went to bed. A month later, Drasa celebrated her birthday. She glanced at Levi and saw him sitting idly, bored. To get his attention, she fired a shot into the air. Levi looked through his scope and saw her holding up a large piece of paper with a question written on it. She was asking for his name. He responded by writing back, "Communication between us is forbidden." But Drasa didn't care. She wrote her name and told him it was her birthday, insisting that she was free to do whatever she wanted. Levi chuckled and then wrote down his name. Drasa suggested they have a drink in celebration and played music, inviting him to dance along with her. Levi replied that he didn't know how to dance. Not believing him, Drasa said, "There has to be something you're good at." He smirked and replied, "I'm a skilled sniper." She challenged him to prove it by shooting a bottle. Levi went to prepare his gear, but before he could fire, Drasa beat him to it, shooting the bottle first. In response, Levi aimed at the wine bottle in front of her and shattered it, earning an amused clap from her. Then, Drasa placed a bottle on her head, daring him to take a shot. Suddenly, Drasa stops playing and looks toward the valley, then asks Levi to look down. When he directs his scope, he notices something moving in the darkness. They aren't just shadows, they are strange tree-like creatures. Levi starts shooting at them, and at that moment, one of the creatures steps on a landmine, causing it to explode and die. However, the rest begin climbing out of the valley from the western slope. Drasa steps in to help Levi, and the two of them start firing at the creatures, successfully taking down a large number of them. A brief silence follows, but just as Drasa takes a step back, another creature appears near her. She quickly fires multiple shots until she kills it. Levi then notices a large group of creatures climbing toward Drasa. He intensifies his shooting, causing the landmines to detonate among them. He takes position on the artillery and continues firing, while Drasa joins him in eliminating every creature that appears before them. Suddenly, the valley's automated artillery system activates, unleashing gunfire on the creatures until they completely disappear. Levi keeps his grip on his weapon for a long time, making sure there are no remaining threats. After the battle ends, Drasa realizes she has been wounded in the shoulder, but she smiles and writes to Levi, "This was the best birthday I've ever had." The next morning, Levi secures the valley, planting new mines and performing maintenance on the iron fence, while Drasa stands guard with her weapon to protect him. Suddenly, a drone emerges from the depths of the valley and flies away, but neither of them has any idea who sent it or what its purpose is. As the month passes, Levi spends his time preparing warm drinks while Drasa plays the piano. One day, Drasa is surprised to find that Levi has made a small Christmas tree and left her a message for the new year. They decide to build an ice sculpture together, each naming their creation after the other. Their bond grows stronger to the point where they start playing chess remotely, with each of them calling out their moves. Gradually, they become more comfortable with each other, using plates and spoons to create rhythms as a form of playful interaction. The days pass until February arrives. One night, Levi wakes up from a nightmare. It is Valentine's Day, the day Drasa's father took his own life. Drasa plays a sorrowful song, lights a candle, and sits crying as she remembers her father. Levi asks her what happened, and she replies, "This day is very hard for me. I wish you were here with me." That night, Levi is unable to sleep. He keeps thinking about Drasa and wishes he could see her up close. As he reads the writings on the walls, he finds a passage about courageous people who travel great distances and the bonds that connect them. An idea suddenly comes to him. The next morning, Drasa gazes toward the western tower, only to be surprised when she sees Levi firing a rocket that carries a sturdy rope between their towers, linking them together. Drasa reaches the device attached to the rope, smiles, and writes to him, asking if he would like to have dinner with her. Levi is thrilled by her invitation, shaves his beard, picks a bouquet of flowers, and starts crossing the suspended rope. In the middle of the crossing, he pauses briefly before pulling himself forward with difficulty until he reaches Drasa. He looks at her with a smile and says, "I'm glad I came, even though I probably shouldn't have." Drasa laughs and replies, "Well, no one's watching us anyway." He hands her the flowers and says, "You look even more beautiful up close." Drasa smiles and tells him to take a shower first because he sweated a lot while crossing. Levi agrees, but Drasa decides to play a prank on him by placing his clothes far away, forcing him to walk naked to retrieve them. She laughs while he looks at her in disbelief. After dinner, they sit together and talk about their location. They have no idea which country they are in, as they hadn't seen anything upon their arrival by plane. Levi speculates that they are in the northern hemisphere, but he isn't sure. Then, he tells her that he has a theory about the creatures in the valley. Drasa interrupts him, saying, "It's better not to know everything. The truth might be disturbing. Just stick to what you already know." Afterward, Levi tells her about his father, explaining that he was the one who taught him how to handle and fire a weapon. Then, with pride, he adds, "I'm currently one of the top 5 snipers in the world." Then, both of them play music and start dancing. It turns out that Levi is also a skilled dancer, and their relationship grows even closer. Afterward, they sit together, talking about everything in their lives, eager to learn more about each other. At one point, Levi confesses that he has been writing a poetic story for her. Drasa is delighted and asks him to share it, but Levi tells her, "I'll tell you once I finish it." The next morning, Levi bids farewell to Drasa and climbs onto the rope to return to his tower. But as he nears his side, a landmine explodes, cutting the rope and causing Levi to plummet into the valley. Without hesitation, Drasa grabs a weapon and a parachute and jumps after him. There was a river hidden beneath the thick smoke, and she lands in it. Struggling against the current, she swims to the surface and clings to a tree trunk, where Levi, unconscious, is also holding on. Suddenly, the tree trunk morphs into a bug-like creature that is about to devour Levi. Fortunately, he wakes up just in time and shoots it. Drasa hears the gunshots and rushes toward the sound. Levi falls from the tree and lands on a strange creature that starts pulling him in to consume him. But Drasa arrives just in time, shooting the creature and freeing Levi. He thanks her for coming to his rescue, and she replies, "I'm sure you would have done the same for me." As they walk together, wondering about this place, Drasa tells him, "I brought a rope so we can get out of here." Suddenly, they're attacked by a wooden horse ridden by a humanoid tree-like figure who fires at them. Drasa counters the attack and manages to kill the rider, while Levi fights the horse and barely defeats it. Levi speculates that the creatures here feed on humans. Drasa then tells him, "I lost the rope we were going to use to climb out. It must have fallen into the river. I have no idea how we're going to get back to the surface now." With no other choice, they decide to explore the valley in search of an escape route. While walking, Levi spots a creature wearing a military uniform from the 1940s. He realizes that these were once soldiers who descended into the valley and never returned. He also notices that some trees resemble human figures. As they continue exploring, they come across destroyed cars and buildings. The land itself shows clear signs of having been shaken by a powerful earthquake. Suddenly, they hear monstrous noises and take cover inside a ruined building. They find human skeletons. Levi is curious about what happened in this place, but Drasa urges him to keep moving. Out of nowhere, enormous spiders attack them in overwhelming numbers. The two open fire while rushing toward the exit, but the creatures begin swarming inside. With no other option, Levi and Drasa stand their ground, using their sharpshooting skills to eliminate many of them. Eventually, Drasa throws a grenade at the remaining spiders, allowing them to escape the terrifying building. However, hiding is impossible as monsters lurk everywhere. Drasa suggests heading toward the valley wall to ensure they don't get ambushed from behind. They sprint there and find an entrance, quickly making their way inside. After inspecting the area, they confirm that it is safe and discover an old laboratory filled with chemical substances. While searching the facility, they come across a film reel and a power generator. Levi activates the generator, restoring electricity, and then plays the film on an old projector. On the screen, a woman appears and says, "This video was recorded on July 13th, 1946. She begins speaking about a secret alliance between Eastern and Western nations. She continues, "We were developing an extremely powerful chemical bomb here, one that could cause destruction on the scale of a nuclear bomb. But then, an earthquake struck the facility, devastating the area and causing a chemical contamination. This led to the fusion of human DNA with plants, animals, and insects. As a result, humans transformed into monstrous creatures. However, some individuals were immune to the infection and remained unchanged. If a person shows no symptoms within 5 days, they are immune and will not turn into a monster." The woman then shows the camera the changes occurring on her skin and states that she will fully transform into a monster within 5 days. She adds, "The people living in the outside world will remain unaffected, as the infection is contained within the valley and is unlikely to spread beyond it. I only hope that God forgives us for what we have done." Then, the recording ends, and Levi and Drasa move into another room. They are surprised to find that the equipment here looks modern, far too advanced for the 1940s. This means that someone has been here recently. Drasa asks, "Why don't they just drop bombs on this valley and destroy it forever?" Levi responds, "Maybe they still want to study the place." Levi then turns on a computer, and a logo appears on the screen, Dark Lake. Both he and Drasa realize that their mission wasn't actually given to them by the military. It was assigned by Dark Lake. They soon discover that the company's true goal is to collect DNA sample from the creatures in the valley to create enhanced super soldiers. Levi understands that they were sent on this mission not to eliminate threats, but to protect the company's secrets. He then finds a file named Stray Dog, the same protocol Jasper had mentioned. Upon opening it, he learns of a massive missile designed to obliterate the valley if things spiral out of control. The file also states that the nearest safe zone from the blast is 4 kilometers away. Levi looks at Drasa and says, "No matter what happens to us here, I'm glad I met you." Determined to fight their way out, the two prepare to leave. However, Drasa remembers that she left her ammo bag near the entrance. With no other option, they decide to go back for it. They throw a smoke grenade to mask their movements. Drasa retrieves her bag, but just as she does, a rope tightens around her legs, yanking her into the air. It was a creature on horseback, dragging her behind it. Drasa tries to shoot it, but she slams into a tree and loses consciousness. Levi rushes to rescue her, but is momentarily distracted by a cluster of decaying missiles. Meanwhile, Drasa regains consciousness, only to find herself suspended, her hands bound, and a monstrous figure looming over her. The creature eyes her hungrily, preparing to devour her. Struggling, she breaks free and shoots it multiple times, but the monster is incredibly strong. Thinking fast, she sets a fire and attacks it with flames. At that moment, Levi arrives just in time to finish it off. Drasa runs into Levi's arms, embracing him. As he examines the corpse, Levi realizes that this was the guardian who once called these creatures his men who went underground. Continuing their journey, Levi shows Drasa the damaged missiles and says, because of the earthquake, chemicals leak from inside these missiles. The toxic smoke caused the infection to spread. Around them, hundreds of mutated humans fused with plant life can be seen. Suddenly, a monster grabs Drasa, but Levi slashes off its arm, freeing her. They run together, but more creatures block their way. Drasa tosses a grenade, wiping out half of them, allowing them to move forward safely. Then, they stumble upon a truck equipped with a crane. Miraculously, the vehicle is still operational. They hop in and drive toward the valley wall. As they approach, Drasa fires at the approaching monsters, but her ammo runs out. Levi continues fighting until his bullets are gone as well. They use the winch, tying the rope that Levi had fallen with earlier, and the winch begins pulling them up. But the creatures were chasing them, tugging at the rope, while Levi and Drasa fought them off with swords as they ascended. Anyone who lost their grip plummeted into the valley below. With only a short distance left to reach the surface, Levi slips, but manages to grab onto the cart at the last second. He then opens the fuel tank, pouring gasoline onto the creatures clinging to the rope, and sets them on fire. The flames sever the rope, sending all the creatures crashing into the valley. Levi and Drasa stand on the rock, watching as the cart burns and falls, then head toward Drasa's tower. Upon arrival, they look around and remark that the place feels like a piece of hell. They start contemplating their next move, discussing the possibility that one of them might be infected. If that happened, the infected one should descend into the valley. However, they must wait 5 days to monitor for symptoms. Levi says, I accepted this mission because I had no one who cared about me or would miss me. But now everything has changed. Now I have you. Drasa moves closer to him, and they decide that if they remain uninfected, they will travel to France to start a new life. But Levi tells her, first, we have to destroy the valley. Using the rope Drasa had with her, Levi crosses to the other side of the tower and contacts his superiors via radio, assuring them that everything is going smoothly. But Bart sees through his lie and asks, did you go down into the valley? He denies it, saying no. She responds that it must have been the person in the western tower who went down and activated the computer below. I'm ordering you to kill the person in the western tower. Levi lies to her again, saying, yes, ma'am. Once Bart ends the transmission, she reviews the computer logs and discovers that Levi and Drasa were the ones who activated the system, meaning they had disobeyed orders. She commands her troops to eliminate them and decides to go personally to take down Levi. The next morning, Levi and Drasa are going about their day as usual when suddenly, a helicopter arrives to attack them. Realizing it has come to kill them, they flee into the forest to hide. When the soldiers fail to locate them, they deploy drones to search the area. The drones soon spot them, and gunfire erupts. But Drasa shoots down the drones, and Levi follows suit, allowing them to escape the danger zone. Meanwhile, Bart arrives at Levi's tower and sees a message scrawled on the wall. The truth doesn't stay hidden forever. At the same time, Levi and Drasa destroy the devices that block satellite surveillance. Bart watches in horror as she realizes that the stray dog protocol will be activated. She rushes to board a plane, but moments later, a missile is launched, obliterating the valley. Bart's aircraft tries to escape the inferno, but she fails and the flames consume it entirely. As for Levi, he is shot and unable to escape, plunging into the water amid smoke and fire. Meanwhile, Drasa, having reached a safe zone 4 kilometers from the explosion, watches the flames engulf the valley. She doesn't know what happened to Levi, so she stays in the forest for 6 days, hoping he will appear. But in the end, she loses hope and assumes he is dead. Days pass, and we see Drasa in France, working at a cafe. One day, she opens a letter Levi had left for her and finds the poem he had once told her about. She begins to cry as memories of him flood back. Then, suddenly, she spots Levi sitting in the cafe. Overwhelmed with emotion, she approaches him and asks, "Why were you gone all this time?" He replies, because I was badly injured and spent the past months recovering, but now I'm ready to work in a cafe's kitchen. And with that, the movie ends. If you love movies and movie recaps, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more. Hit like if you enjoyed the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.